Have you tried doing what I do and just not care?
No.
Oh, so I find it easy.
Well, I mean, I have tried. I can't do it, though.
I just don't give a shit. It's much easier.
It's not that I care specifically too much about things that aren't worth caring about, like all of the geeky stuff. I've not yet been able to not care about anything.
Actually, I should probably refer you to the We Have Issues we did a few weeks ago, and it was just you and I, because I think I said everything I needed to say in that issue about how I don't care about anything. Am I being really nihilistic today?
I think you might just now be numb to the world.
I have been. There was a band I liked back in the 80s when I was listening to a lot of heavy metal called Sabbath. Mm-hmm. And
Not Sabbath.
No, Sabbath. And I downloaded their seminal album Dreamweaver at the weekend. I've been listening to that quite a lot. It's a kind of a concept album based on sort of Anglo-Saxon sort of weirding, sort of magic sort of mythology.
Are they like thrash metal?
Oh, very thrash.
So thrash. Metal.
So I've been listening to a fair bit of thrash. I was listening to it on the way in, so I feel very nihilistic and
about semen.
Yeah, if you like.
You said seminal. I just want to check, actually,
Seminal.
slightly derailing ourselves here a little bit, but we were talking on the way up here about how they used to stick you in prison in Winchester for relative misdemeanors.
No, not me.
Not you, but people.
I was aware of people who were chucked in a nick for a weekend or a week or something for...
But you said relative misdemeanors.
Yeah, relative.
Is that incest?
No.
That's not what you meant.
The chap I was thinking of in particular, as far as I'm aware, never had sexual congress with any of his relatives.
No. There was a podcast, an episode of Reply All.
Okay.
Which is a very good podcast about...
Emailing?
No, but about like cultural things that have happened on the internet.
Okay.
So they...
God, they must be so hard up for material to talk about.
So they did an episode, for example, they did an episode about the guy who first invented pop-up ads.
Oh, okay.
And he did it, his motives for doing it were actually about like keeping advertising separate from content, and it all fell apart.
Yeah.
In one of the episodes of Reply All, they were actually talking about a chap who, in his spare time, he, like every Sunday, he goes onto Wikipedia, and he's an editor on there, and he edits all cases of this very specific grammatical error. I can't remember what the grammatical error is, but it's one I wasn't even aware of, and he goes in and he fixes all of them.
Mm-hmm. Hobbyist pedant.
Well, and I get the impression within the sort of the structure of Wikipedia, the whole point is it's supposed to be as it's not like he's going online and telling people in blog posts that they're saying it wrong.
No,
it's actually, Wikipedia does have lots of people who edit and stuff. And he's managed to get this down from thousands and thousands and thousands of these instances to he just has to do some tidying once a week on Sunday. And he's got, like, he holds down a job. He's got a very tolerant partner who sees it as a hobby, the way it's not actually any more of a waste of time than almost any other hobby. It gives him some sort of satisfaction.
Yeah.
But the one thing that was interesting, he was talking about how he's fascinated by neurology, I guess. And he was saying that because our brains are such powerful pattern recognition machines, that's basically what they do. And because the part of our brain that does all of that stuff is really, it's muddled up and all part of the same part of our brain that processes pain and anxiety and stuff like that, that actually, if there's a particular sort of pattern that you see that isn't right, if you keep seeing something that's wrong, it can actually be uncomfortable, physically uncomfortable to see it. And so you have to address it. or you feel you have to address it. And he's doing this in a very healthy way, really, because he's doing it in a way that's socially acceptable. It's actually, he's providing a service, he's fixing something, and he's making a difference. And he says that if in the Oxford English Dictionary or whatever it is, they finally accept this grammatical thing, which might happen, then it will be uncomfortable for him, but he's happy with that. He'll walk away from it. And it did make me think about how that old XKCD cartoon, the XKCD strip that gets shared around an awful lot, which is the one character, the one stick person saying to the other stick person, "Come on, it's late, it's time for bed," and the other person says, "Can't go to bed, someone is wrong on the internet." That I know describes an awful lot of people's behaviour online, definitely mine. And sometimes I'm just a jerk, but a lot of the time it is almost a compulsion. When you see something and you're like, well, they're just not seeing it, but like I kind of need this person to understand how I see it. They don't have to change their mind, but I do need them to see it how I see it. And it almost is this compulsion that you can't actually stop. And it does make you feel better.
Do you think it's a lack of empathy there, that you don't, you're not able to see their point of view, so you have to foist your own upon them?
No. If I was doing this and had no empathy, I think I would be able to get my point across. And this is the same with emails and stuff as well. I would be able to get my point across in a paragraph. You see a lot of people and they say, they are jerks on the internet to at least the same extent as me, but they do it in a much more concise way. And I think that's because they don't really care how other people feel when they're reading stuff. But with me, part of the reason I end up building in like thousands of caveats, and every time I think, oh, maybe people won't understand this bit and they'll think I'm just being horrible to them. So then I put in a whole other paragraph saying, look, this is how I see, I can see your point of view and et cetera, et cetera. But of course, nobody ever gets past I was going to say the fourth paragraph, and I mean the fourth sentence, don't I?
No, but you're accurate. Do you ever feel, sometimes I feel jealous of these guys, though, on the internet, who can, for example, there's an extreme example this week is obviously Leonard Nimoy died, and Bill Shatner was unable to attend because he was already committed to a charitable event, which, from what I can tell from Leonard Nimoy's Twitter feed and from the interviews and so forth I've seen with him online, that he probably would have thought that was the correct way of doing things, that William Shatner stayed and honoured his commitment and raised money for a good cause, rather than cancelling and leaving people in the lurch and coming back to his funeral. So, of course, Bill Shatner decided to stay. He hasn't attended Leonard Nimoy's funeral. But people felt they needed to take it upon themselves to castigate him online. Now, I can't understand why anyone would do that. And I'm just about to say, I think sometimes I suffer too much empathy, but I can't actually really empathise with where these sort of people are coming from. But there's an part of me that I don't feel jealous of them that they're able to be nasty, but they're able to go through life believing that every thought that appears in their head is the absolute correct one. Never doubting themselves and never thinking for a minute that other people might be motivated in different ways. There is almost part of me sometimes that's a little bit jealous of that, to be honest. Because I tend to, I should frame that in so much as I know, having undergone a little bit of therapy, that one of my big issues is I don't want to call it overthinking it, but I tend to look at issues from too many sides and end up sort of trying desperately to try and make everything work for everyone, and that's not the correct way. So I frame that as too much empathy, but you could describe it in different ways, I'm sure. Well, it's
a level of I see that more as uncertainty. That, like, it seems to me that the decent way.
That's not entirely true. Working on a project on my own, I'm very decisive. Given my own, as soon as you bring other people into the party, things start going a bit awry for me.
When you say a project on your own,
a project on your own,
do you mean something for which only you care about the outcome?
No, not necessarily. It's a lot of things, but something I'm solely responsible for.
Right. You see, I can relate to a certain amount of that, and I think I think it is mainly about certainty, though, because you're not talking about people who necessarily know exactly what to do.
Sure.
In the workplace or in a given situation. You're talking about people who have absolute certainty when it comes to berating other people in public or stuff like that. They're absolutely certain about their opinions. They might not be absolutely certain about their actions, but they certainly know. Sure. They certainly know how the world should be.
And sort of courage of convictions is something we tend to, or society tends to applaud, but actually, courage of convictions when it comes to berating a man who's lost a very long-term friend, I'm not sure it's a good thing. I'm not sure courage of convictions is
Yeah, I mean, they're two really different things.
Because you're a twat.
Yeah.
I mean, empirically.
I think that my crazy utopian vision for society is that people should be able to do what they want to the extent that it doesn't actively or like through ignorance hurt other people or impose on other people's lives. And
sorry, talking of which, very brief aside.
Like just interrupting me, that's imposing on my. No, go on, carry on. I'm now doubting myself because I'm sure that's how our podcast works, but now I'm not sure. So now the interruption's longer than it needed to be because you threw light onto it. You've caused self-doubt in me. I'm now having like a little mini crisis because there's no way that the thought I've had can possibly now live up to the expectation that's created both by your interruption and my self-analysis. Well, let's me and the viewer, listener, decide. What was the thought?
This last week's Weekly Wipe had a really good breakdown of the utopian stroke dystopian vision that Peppa Pig presents. It was very funny. It was the Russell Brand skit they do, and he was pulling apart Peppa Pig based on the fact that they're all animals living harmoniously in this utopian world, but the only human in it is the Queen, and everyone else is a subservient animal beneath her. I
have tried watching Peppa Pig. I got very fixated on the curvature of the Earth in it.
It's a freaky looking world they live in.
And couldn't stop looking at the fact that the Earth starts curving. You'd think that maybe they live on a hill, but no, because when it pulls back, it kind of looks the same. Yeah. The Earth starts curving immediately outside their front door.
But do you know what I don't get is like where do they draw the line between pets and people?
My brain immediately, I want to bring up Goofy and Pluto and Donald Duck.
Yeah,
and now I'm going into a bit of a meltdown.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Queen.
Yeah.
The first time I was really aware of this exact Leonard Nimoy William Shatner thing, and it predates the social internet, so it's clearly not a new problem. I think that speaking of Charlie Brooker, I think there was the first of those mini documentaries that he puts in Weekly Wipe, I think, was actually about this specifically, the death of Diana. Okay, the mini documentary, and I'll post a link to it, but I think I have done before, was actually about how news coverage has changed since then, how it's changed how now the news leads with the opinion of a normal person on the street, and the human impact of a news story rather than the actual news story. But I just remembered thinking at the time that Diana died, when our entire country lost what small shred of self-awareness and sense of humour it had to begin with. We keep trying to claw bits of it back, but that's when it really went out the window, and everything became, we were no longer irreverent. We were suddenly the most reverent we've ever been. But I remember seeing footage of people on the gates, at the gates of Buckingham Palace or wherever it was the Queen was at that particular time, who'd been there for days, just mourning the loss of Diana, and they were complaining because I don't know if you remember, but it seemed to drag out a really long time.
Yes.
The Queen coming out and showing that she was sad.
Yeah.
And there were normal people who are clearly royalists or clearly think of themselves as royalists on the doorsteps of Buckingham or at the fence of Buckingham Palace, complaining that the Queen isn't really showing that she's sad enough. Now, notwithstanding, like, all the reasons why the Queen might not be that sad about Diana dying, which is a whole other podcast, which will a 50-part podcast we've got coming about who really killed Diana. I think we've been talking about that, which will be coming in the summer if we don't get assassinated before then.
Yes, keep an eye out for any suspicious deaths amongst us.
Yeah, amongst us too.
Yeah.
But that was the first point at which I was like, I really resented it because it made me feel a sympathy for the royals that I never had done before. Because for everything else that they get, all of the privilege they have, even if they wanted to live a normal life, and this was before the internet made it like anyone over 500 followers. No, because I've got everyone over 1,000 followers now is put in a similar sort of spotlight, just not by as many people.
Well, anyone over 1,000 followers is royalty.
No, but like everything they do is under an inappropriate level of scrutiny.
Okay,
and yeah, that was the point at which I realised, they've got so much privilege, and nobody really understands anymore why they get to be special, beyond that this seems to be a country that needs to have people on that sort of a pedestal ridiculously. It's the sort of national identity as much as anything else. But that they can't even decide when it is they're going to show how sad they are about someone in their family dying just struck me as ridiculous. Because if you
sorry.
If you strip the whole ex-wife who's been going on national TV slagging off the family element from it, there are so many normal human reasons why they might want to stay inside for a little bit. They've got like 2 boys in the family who've lost their mum and stuff like that. And it was insane. And like, if you're a royalist, you're supposed to kind of think that they're better than us and don't have to answer to us anyway. So that was the first time I really saw that. So, and you see it again and again and again. And so I was already primed when I heard the William Shatner thing. The best thing was I've heard people complaining about the fact that it was happening, but the only actual quoted tweet I've seen was somebody reposted as the point where they thought William Shatner would probably have just, if they were William Shatner, they'd have just told everyone to fuck off and retreated from it. But somebody was actually saying, yes, obviously it's good that you've, it's nice that you kept your Red Cross commitment, but there was still plenty of time for you to charter a plane to get back to it. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. William Shatner definitely has more money than us, but I still don't think chartering planes is that cheap and straightforward a thing to fit into your day, unless you're like megabucks rich. You know what I mean? And some of the sitcoms and stuff he's been aligned with recently suggests that he's still got to work.
That kind of illustrates as well, and I think this is something we've touched on before, is people's perception of the rewards that come with fame. That you live in a level of rarefied air where everything is immediately on tap to you. And I remember, I think, were we talking on here? I know I was thinking about it on Twitter the other day about how cheaply people surrender their anonymity. So, I think it was to do with Dapper Laughs, and he's now framing himself as some kind of victim.
Didn't take long. It's very weird.
No. But I was thinking about where did that sense of, for want of a better word, I think I'm gonna make one up, victimhood come from. And I think there's a possibility that it comes to the fact that he can't claw it back. He's sold his anonymity. He can't go on, certainly for the next year or two, he cannot go on with a normal life. That's now closed to him. He can't go back to being an estate agent because it's always going to be, you're that wanker off the telly, aren't you? But there's no real net gain for him. His career was so short-lived. So he sold away his anonymity. He now has a level of notoriety. And now, because of that, I think he's got himself in a corner, and he's trying to claim he's a victim because he wants people to feel sympathy for the desperate situation he's in. And I think actually the best illustration of how extreme that selling of anonymity is Nick Bateman from the first Big Brother, who by all accounts has now moved to Australia and changed his name. Because for those few weeks in a summer in 2000, he behaved a bit like an arsehole to win a game show, and now is vilified because he failed to live up to certain expectations we have on an entertainment show that society really got into at that time. And yet, despite all of that evidence that actually low-level fame or notoriety is actually a negative thing for people, generally for people to go through, people still want to strive for it. You know, The Voice, X Factor, Britain Has Talent, all still very popular, where people are basically spunking away their anonymity just for a shot at something that probably doesn't actually exist. I remember very well reading in the it's a book I've read several times. It's very interesting insight into a very peculiar character in British life. The Kenneth Williams Diaries, which is a hell of a read. And he bemoans there that, you know, I thought of him as a exceptionally famous individual. He was always on something. He was in the Carry On films. He was always on Just a Minute, always on the radio. Always worked, and worked at a reasonably high level. But he couldn't afford to move out of the flat he had in London to what he craved was a little house in the country or something, somewhere where he could get away from it. And he said he couldn't afford it. And that's the thing. I think people forget that. It's like, once you're out there, once you're exposed, you're fucked. That's it. And if the public decide they're going to take against you, that's it. You're done.
It is when Dapper Laughs first decided he was first made the, and it wasn't. I think it was sincere to the extent that he was capable of it. But the interview he did, where he was wearing a roll neck and was very, he was still a little bit blaming it on his audience, but seemed to genuinely think he was going to fold up the character and move on from it. I did think that maybe he was being a bit naive about what else he had to offer. Yeah. If he still wanted to be in entertainment, I don't think at the time I thought, well, but I mean, what? So you're just going to walk away from the fact that people were throwing money and adoration at you for this? Because a few people who are never going to be at your shows have decided to kick up a fuss. Yeah. Like Jim Davidson, Bernard Manning, all of those people managed just fine on the fact that despite the fact that a lot of decent people didn't. And if you hang on, if you're like him and you hang on, eventually at least one of the tabloids is going to decide that you're standing out against political correctness gone mad and make a hero of you anyway. So I always thought, well, of course you can't walk away from that. That's ridiculous.
Jim Davidson, I bet, cannot walk down the street with at least one person calling him a wanker. I mean, it's almost inevitable. If I saw him walking down the street, certainly 10, 15 years ago, I would not have thought twice about calling him a wanker in the street.
Oh, yeah, but for everyone who does that, there's there's going to be a handful of grannies and other people who just boost his ego. So
is he one of these people that has such a large ego that, unlike us, he doesn't hear the one criticism louder than every compliment he gets? Or is he a normal human being, and all that sticks in his mind is the one person that calls him a wanker, and he forgets all of the little grannies that are, and it's sort of, it's sympathy for Jim Davidson. Jesus Christ.
I'm thinking about all the normal people I meet in my day-to-day life, and wondering if you haven't got the statistics a bit backwards there, because there seem to be plenty of people just wandering around who are perfectly happy to take all of the positive reinforcement thrown at them.
But that's sort of exhibited in public behaviour. I just sort of wonder,
does everyone go home and cry about all of that?
Do we all have self-doubt? And I'm sure we do. I'm sure, because he wouldn't act out about young comedians that are jabbing at him if he didn't have self-doubt. He wouldn't give a shit, would he?
Certainly creative people tend to say, like writers and filmmakers and actors and stuff like that always say that it doesn't matter how many good reviews they get, they only pay attention to the bad reviews. So maybe we are more aligned with that. We just haven't worked out how to be creative people, James.
Possibly.
Maybe that's what that
I'm
that
trying
is.
very hard.
Well, so, I mean, but yeah, so Dapper Laughs, the interesting thing about that is that Nasty Nick, decided that he was going on a game show, so he might as well play it like a game show, was nasty for that period of time. I don't think he's done anything since then that really suggested that he was a vaudevillian pantomime villain, has he?
No, he turned up at nightclubs and earned a couple of £100 appearance fee, but...
Yeah, that's not really the same thing. That's not actually evil unless he was wearing a little black cloak with a red, the Peter Capaldi Doctor cloak.
No, that's nothing but the grim reality of that level of celebrity, which is
so
horrible.
So he was horrible for 6 weeks, and then now has had to run away from that. Whereas, and people used to give him shit in the street, but arguably the worst thing, the thing that he has done that is worst for society, the worst thing he's done, quite haplessly, because no one knew that Big Brother was going to become the thing it became, is he created a narrative within that sort of show that now means that someone like Dapper Laughs can be horrible in his day-to-day life, and that makes him the prime candidate to go on to the next celebrity Big Brother.
Yeah, for sure.
It's where people go when chunks of the public have turned against them, to find a bunch of the public that doesn't. Like Jim Davidson was on Big Brother, and a lot of the people who saw him were kind of seeing him on there for the first time.
Sure.
And watching him, thinking, oh, he's one of the nicer people in here, seems sincere, seems quite humble, and then hearing about all of his reputation from the past, most of which he wasn't living up to when he was in the Big Brother house. So actually he's got, if not an audience, there are plenty of people now who know him from Big Brother who think, well, he's one of the better adjusted people who was in Big Brother for that year, so he can't be that bad. Don't know what all this fuss is about. And then you get the political correctness gone mad people who sort of say, well, I mean, he's obviously not that bad, because they're not thinking about all of the decades of misogyny and racism. They're thinking about how there's a whole bunch of liberal fuddy-duddies going on about this guy, and he's clearly not that bad. So obviously our society is totally broken between these people who say you can't bloody say anything, can you? I can't even say horrible things that I'm too uncomfortable to say out loud. I can't even say such and such, such and such, such and such in a crowded place like I'm doing right now, without getting told off for it. I kind of went on a bit of a rant then, and I'm not even sure that I finished a sentence, but I'm rolling with it. It's fine. Another podcast. Sorry. So Reply All. Very good. Maybe.
Yeah, sorry, I derailed that.
I don't think you did. I think it's fine. I wanted to talk about.
You're going to take back your beration off me. Beration?
Yeah, I didn't really berate you.
Yeah, you did a bit.
No, I just pointed it out.
Listen,
that's my passive aggressive.
If you're listening to it, please do tweet me if you think Nick berated me unfairly.
About your interruptions.
Yeah.
About your constant interruptions. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind your constant interruptions, but I don't think you want to be that sort of person.
I've got to get a word in edgeways somewhere, Nick. Jesus. I mean, there's two of us doing this.
So, Reply All.
Two grown men, not one grown man and another grown man sitting there politely listening.
One half grown man.
Yeah.
So Reply All, apparently, an element and a certain amount of pedantry on the internet might be actually to try and stave off neurological discomfort.
Fair enough.
The other thing, I listened to for the first time this week, and I only listened to two of them. The last two. There's a podcast called, I think it's called The Worst Idea in the World Ever, which that isn't the premise that isn't the premise of the podcast. It's just a kind of a description of the premise of the podcast. It's these two Kiwi guys. They're from New Zealand. They're not actual like kiwi fruits. That'd be weird.
Or the birds.
And they took on the task of watching the film Grown Ups 2 once a week for a year.
Okay.
And podcasting about it.
Wow.
Each week. And I vaguely heard about that, and I thought, well, that just sounds stupid. I wouldn't enjoy something like that, but I will listen to a couple of them just so I can be sure. And I listened to, I think, one from 2 weeks ago. They just finished. They just finished a week ago. So I listened to one from 2 weeks ago. They were in LA. They went to America, they were going to finish it off with a couple of live shows.
Are they Englishmen?
No, they're Kiwis.
Oh, you said that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was thinking about actual Kiwis.
Yeah. So the first one I listened to, they were in some American, I think it was a Walmart or something. So they were walking around that worried about getting caught, and they were very charming. They're really charming, funny guys. They were talking about this film I hadn't seen before, but I kind of knew by reputation, and it was quite funny. They weren't adoring of it. They were pointing out ridiculous things about it. The final episode of the first year was this week. And this is a wrinkle that I wasn't aware of. It was the second of their 2 live shows that they did over 2 days. And it was them, it was called Origins. And it was them, earlier that day, they had seen Grown Ups 1. It's only called Grown Ups. But they'd seen Grown Ups 1 for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And it was them talking about that. Now, because I didn't realise that, you see, it's a ridiculous idea to begin with that they've chosen to do Grown Ups 2, but it just becomes amazing when you realise they hadn't seen the first one. I just think that's a surreal masterpiece.
Yeah.
By all accounts, the first one they started out, because from the previous episode I'd listened to, you couldn't be entirely sure whether they were guys who think that the Grown Ups films are great. It's fairly clear that they don't think the Grown Ups films are great. They start out by trying to work out which of the 2 films is the most mean-spirited.
Right.
Which is when that's your metric on something.
Is it an Adam Sandler bit?
Yeah. And there was a little bit of them talking about how there were definitely glory days of Adam Sandler films. And I've never really seen an Adam Sandler film I
quite like Happy Gilmore.
Who did The Wedding Singer? That was Ben Stiller. No, that was Adam Sandler.
Was Adam Sandler. But otherwise, I tried to watch, I'd never seen Billy Madison.
Yeah.
I got about half an hour in and just couldn't handle it. It's just not.
I find it,
funny.
Yeah, it's really difficult. But he's huge, isn't he?
He is. Famous. I find him quite sort of, when you see him interviewed and stuff.
Affable.
Yeah, very personable sort of individual and actually sort of quite humorous, but very likeable.
Yeah, which I think might be it. Not actually necessarily funny, but very likeable.
It's very frat boy humour, isn't it? Which I don't really properly sort of tune into.
For the longest time, I thought he and Ben Stiller were basically the same person and avoided all films starring either of them, but they couldn't be more different.
No, they are quite different.
So I wasn't sure. And I think The Wedding Singer is the only film of his I've seen that I actually enjoyed. And
I've never seen it myself.
It's quite funny.
Okay.
Zoolander, not him. That's Ben Stiller, isn't it?
Again, that gets people seem to love that. It left me very cold.
These films are all right. But anyway, so that's a good podcast, The Worst Idea in the World. And I wondered what they were going to do next, and apparently they're going to do Sex and the City 2.
Awesome.
I don't know if they've seen Sex and the City 1. I've seen Sex and the City 1, which is why I would never decide to do a podcast where I had to watch Sex and the City 2 52 times.
I know my wife is a big Sex and the City fan, so she'd like that. So.
Yeah. I'm not sure they're going to be positive about it.
Yeah.
But you're on... The thing is that it's 2 guys, and...
Hey, that's our format.
Yeah, but when they're and most other podcasts in the world.
That's true.
But when they're skewering a film that is from a very masculine perspective, like Grown Ups apparently is, you can see that pretty much they can say anything they want about it, and it's not going to be offensive particularly. I do wonder with Sex and the City, because it is going to be a film about women, made pretty much for women, and so I wonder how critical they're really going to...
It's fraught with danger.
Yeah, it is. It's a tightrope. Be interesting, though. So there's that. What else was I going to say?
You run out of things to say?
No,
Is that it? Is this our last ever podcast? Well, that's it, folks. Thanks for listening.
Also, I've listened to a few episodes of It's Science, Bitch. They've been very nice about we have issues. Yeah, I'm a bit uncertain about the bitch in the title, but it's followed up with an exclamation that suggests to me that it's a non-gender specific. They're funny. That's two guys. They're English. So that's definitely our format.
Yes.
And they talk about science stories.
Cool. Sounds interesting. Sounds like something I'd like.
They are very funny. So I like it. It is a Skype recording thing. You know how I feel about those.
Yes, I do.
But you know, you can still hear what they're saying, so it's good.
I thought our last one sounded really good. I think that we both record on Audacity tracks and you mash them together makes it sound excellent.
Nobody else does that.
Oh, but you do it. That's fine.
It's the making work for yourself version of doing Skype recordings. But yeah, so that's really good. It's Science Bitch, so you should listen to that. I was in terms of what's been going on this week. So I had one of my I had an interesting day at work on Friday, which I won't go into detail about. But it was an uncomfortable day, which ended up in the afternoon. I work in an open plan office. It was very full of people, and I had a lot of asthma. Mm-hmm. More probably than I've had in a really long time. You know what I used to think was anxiety attacks, but actually it's apparently asthma, which are brought on by anxiety. Yeah. Which, you know, is pretty much what's an anxiety attack then? Is it just a non-lethal version of the same thing?
I don't know. Yeah.
But then, so by some coincidence, today my job has been transferring a whole bunch of course materials about using inhalers properly.
Oh.
And I haven't got time to actually read them to see if I'm using my inhaler properly because I'm transferring lots of stuff across. But there are loads of interesting words being used. Because did you know that there's more than one sort of inhaler or respirator?
I'm only aware of the Ventolin variety.
There's loads. And
that's only from an old rave tape where the MC halfway through the set says, has anyone got a Ventolin inhaler? It's an emergency.
Oh.
That all happened to the person.
Not from Aphex Twin?
No, it's DJ Druid and MC Sharky.
MC Sharky, you've talked about him before. I really like, and again, this is how you know that social networking isn't what made us the way we are. I remember when Aphex Twin released his Ventolin album, and which has lots of gaspy noises on it and stuff.
Okay.
And I remember people complaining that it was offensive to people with asthma, which, you know, probably. But I think he was trying to make a point about asthma through the medium of ambient, non-lyrical.
It's not for me to criticise how people with asthma feel. So,
well, I've had asthma for about a month, so I think I understand what it's like, and we need to get a grip, me and my people. I mean, because. Well, for a start, if we end up starting an argument with someone about how asthma sufferers are represented and it gets too stressful, we will always lose because we are far more likely to expire from, certainly me with my anxiety. Yeah. But so there have been all these excellent words like mucolytes. I wrote some down. Mucolytes and carbostyrene and macrospasmoids. I love medical words.
Macrospasmoids is quite a word, isn't it?
Yeah. I might have made that one up. But
Fair
mucolytes
enough.
is a great name because it sounds like it immediately makes you think of maybe it's a mucusy asthma.
No, I'm thinking about underground dwelling alien types from Marvel Comics, similar to moloids.
So the mucocytes are the ones that
hang down,
and
the moloids hang up. I don't think you can hang up.
Got to have a system.
Unless you're on the phone.
Yeah,
in which case you can hang up.
But yeah, so what's been going on with you? Because that's literally my whole week. I had a very nice weekend with Noah. I'm having a lovely time with him. We watched... one thing.
Will someone please note for the record that Nick asked me how my weekend was and then immediately told me about his?
We, just one thing. Noah and I were on our own yesterday for a chunk of the day. So we watched... Totoro, but with I found a dub. I got it dubbed.
Okay.
So it's the first time I've seen the English dubbed version, but it's also the first time he's seen it. Didn't seem to bother him. It's a very good dub. I think it's the Disney dub.
Yeah, some of them are very, very good.
Yeah. There are certain things like the little soot. They're called soot sprites in the English version, but they're called Magorogorogoski and you have to say it in that sing-song way in the original version. Magorogorogoski. So I think I'm going to sometimes play him that one because I kind of want him to grow up with Magorogorogoski.
Good.
But yeah, that's it really.
Good.
That was my entire week. Yeah, not a good time at work. Nice time with the boy. Amy's very pregnant. And we still haven't moved into the house, so I can't talk about all of that in depth because I'll probably curse it.
Yeah, that's true. My week has been dominated by, for some reason, feeling like it's my birthday on Wednesday.
This Wednesday,
and which feels like a very heavy cloud sitting over my head for some reason. It's my 40th.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling it for some reason, but I don't know. It's just where I am. I've been very my mood's been quite black of late. I started a new project, a scratch build this time. I spent the weekend drawing out the designs because obviously I need to measure and cut everything. So I had to go through a design phase to make sure I'm not just making shit up as I go along.
Scratch built means built from scratch, of course.
Yeah.
So you literally you buy
I'm going to design and then get the raw materials and then make. I'm making a castle for Scarlett.
It's like the Great British Sewing Bee, but with making stuff.
Maybe. Initially, we don't know. I haven't executed yet, but I've planned and designed. So I spent much of the weekend. I bought some graph paper or a pad of graph paper from Staples. Had an argument with my wife about the scaling, but other than that, it was so that's complete. The plans are complete, and now I'm going to do it. So I just need to start that. I need my in-laws to come back, so I need to borrow my father-in-law's bench saw and workbench and so on to be able to cut the material. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to making that, and I imagine those of my friends who have children, if it's a success, hopefully will benefit from it because I suspect I'll make more. So we shall see. But if it is a success, I'll take photographs as I go through, and we share them somehow through 2GM. It seems appropriate. But yeah, Scarlett just asked me a few weeks ago. She said she wanted me to make a castle, and I was going to make it out of a few loo rolls, and I thought no. I'm going to make her a proper castle.
Do it properly.
I'm going to do it properly. So I'm hoping. Obviously, it's my birthday on Wednesday. I'm hoping I'm going to have sort of. I have asked for like a
airbrush thing,
airbrush and so forth. So fingers crossed, because that'll make painting much easier and so forth. I had to deal with a very odd existential crisis that Scarlett went through on Saturday. Saturday was a terrible day. I was in a very unusual mood and ended up sort of losing the plot a little bit in the afternoon evening, which saw me sat outside in our back garden for about an hour and a half in the pouring rain because I couldn't face going back in the house because I didn't think it was fair for Nicola and Scarlett to be anywhere near me, which is a bit odd. And it was also, I wanted to be away from Scarlett. I was having a bit of a meltdown. Didn't want to go out because I thought I'd do something stupid, frankly. Either drink or I don't know what, but I knew leaving the house was a very bad idea for me. So that was very unpleasant. But earlier in the day, Scarlett had been, while I was sitting and designing, Scarlett was watching Rugrats the movie, which, you'd think Rugrats, she likes the series, relatively benign, completely forgetting. I watched it with Nikki years ago, but it's about 20 years ago, I think the film came out. Completely forgot. It's centred around, Tommy has a little brother called Dill, and they climb into a packing crate and end up getting lost in some woods. So all the children get separated from their parents, lost in the woods. Scarlett, and there's like a wolf there, there's monkeys.
I thought that was going to be way worse.
Scarlett found, that's what Scarlett finds terrifying. She doesn't find monsters and zombies and stuff terrifying. She finds them funny. What she finds terrifying is separation. So, and this is empathy. Sometimes, and this is what makes me worry about Scarlett. Is it's the thing that I have trouble with is I feel sometimes that my emotions are too intense, too high. Like empathy causes me to feel really affects me when I see people, I can't watch Comic Relief. I genuinely get so angry and so at the injustice that people, and this horrible sort of castrated feeling that I can't do anything about it. But anyway, so I worry about Scarlett a great deal in terms of that, because it looks like something she's kind of picked up of, and it's actually, although it's the thing that I think drives the best aspects of my personality, it's also the things that drive my mental health issues as well. So it's a real problem. But she started crying and she was inconsolable. Nicola had gone out to walk the dogs with her sister. We'd had a bit of a round, and to be fair, it's my fault. I was being a weird pig. But Scarlett was inconsolable, started crying for her mummy. And obviously when she wants her mother, that means, she tells me she hates me and she doesn't want me and so forth. But as she started to calm down, she went and sat in the toilet and she was still crying a little bit. And then she asked me, would me and mummy die? And I had to say yes. Obviously, you can't pretend we're not going to. That's going to fuck her up more than say no. And she's never broken my heart as much as she did. She was sitting on the toilet in floods of tears and looked at me and she says, I don't know what I'm going to do when you die, and I don't know how to do my computer work. So in her head, the world of work is computers. And she was living this raw existential terror of being truly alone in the world and having no one to help and support her. And my heart just snapped in two. It was just horrible to go through. I tried to comfort her by telling her, by the time she left school, she'd know all she needs to do. And then we started talking about school and college and university and how you learn to navigate you through your way through the world. And I'm sure it'd be a long time before mummy and daddy do die, reassuring her that, Nikki's turning 40, both her parents are alive, and, my mum's still about, sort of trying to reassure her like that. But it was truly horrible. It was not a pleasant thing to be through. She got through it and she's fine. She asked Nikki some questions about where we go when we die, and we offer her up explanations based on both faith and science, saying this is what different people believe. Some people believe you go to heaven. Some people believe you come back and you're reincarnated. Some people believe that your every atom in your body goes off and becomes part of something else. Did
because that's you there, that last one.
Kind of.
Did you offer it so other people believe that it just ends and that's it? Or did you leave that one?
Well, no, not really. I don't, because that's that's kind of the one I believe.
Yeah.
Because I haven't said to her, your conscience goes off.
You want to believe the star stuff thing?
Well, yeah. What, the one that you can prove empirically?
No, but
well, you can't.
The way you explain it, it sounds more. That's really bad for podcasting.
That's very bad audio. Nick's basically waving his arms around, creating a kind of circle.
Yeah, it's less Dawkins and more Carl Sagan, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think very much, my own personal belief sets is Sagan kind of had a better way of. Dawkins has a very cold and hard way of looking at things, and see, I made the mistake of doing a Dawkins saying it's empirical fact. Well, in terms of what happens to the substance of your body, we have a consciousness that no one can offer an empirical answer for what happens to your consciousness. I think I probably know what happens to it. I think it gets snuffed out, but I don't know for sure. No one really can they? But yeah, Nikki was sort of, but she seems very positive and calm about it. But of course, I kind of don't like to demonstrate this in front of Scarlett, but I really had a lot of trouble with that, as right up into my 20s, maybe my early 30s, like general sort of like, especially at night, real existential terror. Where I had to, I'd be lying in bed and I had to get out of bed and sort of distract myself and do something else, because it's actually sheer terror of it all. I found overwhelming. Now, I blame that on some dalliances I had with religion early on in my life, and some bad experiences with religion.
I think I've mentioned it before. I think I think I was always going to be anxious about that stuff just because I'm an anxious person. But seeing threads quite early, just leaned into what I was already worried about. My worry was very specifically, I had two worries. One was if I go to sleep, when I wake up, everybody might be dead. The world might have ended and it'll just be me. So that was one.
Yep.
The other one was, if I'm on my own, like I'd heard a story about how a kid had, I've definitely talked about this at some point in the previous episodes. At some point I'd heard a story about how a kid was feeling a bit ill in their lesson. And so they were sent to the nurse, and went across the playground and spontaneously human combusted.
Oh yeah, so spontaneous combustion.
All anyone found of them
well,
was their shoes or something.
Yeah.
And so on the one hand, there were two actually very different fears, but one was the minute I close my eyes and sleep, when I wake up, everybody will be gone, and that was scary. But on the other hand, I was worried that if at any point people's eyes weren't on me, if at any point people couldn't see me, I might die.
Sure.
And I was scared of spontaneous. I was scared that it hurt
me too. Yeah.
more than anything else, and that I'd just be gone as well. And so I think a lot of but the thing is, those are both quite, once I realised rationally that neither of those things were probably going to happen, I've been quite nihilistic since, but in a really, I don't want anything bad to happen to Amy or Noah or the dogs, but I'm pretty much at ease with things happening to me. Do you know what I mean?
I am myself more so than I think I've ever been. But actually having Scarlett kind of helped that, because then there's something, I think I've spoken about this before, maybe, part of the only child thing. All of a sudden there's something that's more important than me. For the first time really, genuinely in my life, there's something bigger than me going on, sort of.
So is that why you ended up in the garden?
No, not at all. I had a very, very bad day. And Nikki and I, we had a day when I think Nikki was struggling with my mental health issues. I don't think I'm a monster, but I can be very difficult to be around when I'm having a bad day in particular. Nikki kind of said as much, that it was a day she could have done without it, and I reacted very badly to that, got very angry, and sort of I take the anger outside, but it basically ended up sitting outside in the garden in the dark, sort of. The only thing that I can say as a plus side is, being a very big man, even in the pouring rain, I can roll a cigarette and keep it dry by leaning over what I'm doing, so that's a good thing.
That's good, like Totoro. But then if Totoro wanted to roll a cigarette.
But by contrast, yesterday was one of the nicest, most relaxed, pleasant family days we've had. We went out for breakfast, came home, got the dogs, went out to Crabwood in Winchester, went for a walk in the woods, then came home and sort of just relaxed and had a really glorious family day together. So it's almost in some ways like that really bad day had to happen. The catharsis of then coming through that helped create a slightly better day. But yesterday was glorious. Today I have felt just absolutely frigging bereft. I'd say it's not a happy bunny at all today. But then it's very so my mood, especially very lumpy at the moment. I feel I feel like my antidepressant medication's doing me some good, certainly in terms of the anxiety. The ones that I take in the evening, which is mirtazapam I take in the evenings, help me sleep, but they give me very vivid dreams, and my day now is pretty much dictated by the type of dream I've had the night before, and more often than not, they're quite dark. So I can't remember specifically what I dreamt about last night, but it leaves a stink over my whole mood and my whole day. It's horrible. I feel otherworldly today. Like I'm not quite myself, which is, and I think maybe that's just a matter of still getting used to the medication I'm on. I'm not who I normally am, if that makes sense. And it's very, very difficult to sort of that. And, I've got the birthday coming up, which is sort of, it's a big milestone. I thought it didn't bother me, but apparently it clearly does. It's all a bit, it's a weird week. Hopefully Wednesday will be nice. And it was paid out the weekend. I should have been able to buy myself a couple of models to give myself something to do, because where I'm signed off, I get very bored. I find it very hard to concentrate on writing, and that sort of creativity. So making has been my creative outlet. So I've got nothing to make. So it's sort of, and I've drawn the plans. So I'm sort of twiddling my thumbs.
Have you been told not to buy anything until after your birthday?
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course,
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I found 40 relatively easy. Mm-hmm. My biggest concern is that now that we're middle-aged, that means we're expected to do another 40. And that seems like a lot of hard work.
Yeah, maybe. Although, I guess I'd kind of like to for Scarlett's sake.
Yeah, I
really.
mean, that's my main driver at the moment. Yeah.
So that was a happy story to...
When you were in the garden, if you wore a big leaf on your head like Totoro... You see, I pictured Totoro rolling a cigarette earlier, and now I just think that you need to lean into that a little bit.
There is, I assure you, there is nothing funny
about a fat man in the rain.
A fat, miserable man smoking cigarettes,
watching Captain Kangaroo
in the back garden in the rain. Yeah, it's a fucking pitiable sight.
A fat man smoking cigarettes in the rain.
You're having that, are you? Luckily there's no YouTube video of that. I did, however, I delighted Scarlett by uploading some videos of her to YouTube.
There was a lovely picture of Scarlett.
Oh, and the dog.
Yeah, was that on Twitter?
Yeah. These are private videos. I haven't made them available because they're not there for us. But YouTube's quite a nice place to put things like that.
You don't want to post video of your child to YouTube publicly because... basically, it doesn't matter how cute your child is. People will take 5 comments to tell you that they're ugly. And I've seen someone, when cornered about that, turn around and say, "Oh no, actually, it was a girl." Say, "Oh no, actually, they're a really cute kid. I was just making a joke to get a reaction." Like, actually admit that they were just trolling. So it just happens. It's just how people are. Anyway,
I hadn't even really considered that. It's not. It was just for us, and it was a handy place to keep them. Maybe maybe she likes doing little shows and stuff for us, so maybe I'll get around to filming one and editing it properly and making it available.
I think if you get her to sing a song from a Disney film, that's the way to viral videos. Anyway, we need to go.
Yeah, definitely, because I've got so much to be getting on with today.
Listener, you can talk to us both on Twitter. You can either just follow 2GM Pod on Twitter, or you can follow James and talk to him.
You can find me at James MOMB.
And I'm Nick, site NIXSIGHT. You can send us emails at 2gmpodcast@gmail.com. You can subscribe to this podcast and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. So any podcatchers, iTunes, Apple's podcast thing, Pocket Casts,
Local
Stitcher,
Co-op.
The local co-op, I think we're available there. We've done a deal with them, so you can get us with any copies of The Sun, was it?
Yeah, as if.
And there is a mailing list. We post to it very sporadically, right up until I eventually do move house and then can think about fucking something else for a change. Not fucking something else. Something fucking else for a change. I think that's all of the things. Oh, and there's a page on Facebook as well. I'm on Facebook. James isn't really.
I am. I'm kind of.
His name's there.
Do you know, it made me really proud because I went back on. I had some pending friend requests, and Facebook nags you by email. So I went back on there and I accepted them because I think it's the right thing to do. And then realised, shit, I've gone back on Facebook right before my birthday. It looks like I'm fishing for like birthday congrats. I got really stressed out about it.
Well, it does now. I hadn't even considered it.
Okay.
Have you got an Amazon wish list?
Yes.
For birthday presents. So if you search for James Gilly on Amazon, you can probably find his wish list and buy him something. Yeah,
but you'll find most of the top of the list is masking, model making masking, some flocking, and styrene sheets and styrene rods.
Is that carbostyrene?
I don't know, but it's all for making my daughter's castle. I mean, if you want to buy me a roll of masking tape, you're more than welcome to. It's always comes in handy.
In lieu of us ever getting a Patreon or something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's us.
We're out, yeah.
Bye.
Bye. You normally say that. I feel guilty. Sorry.